Hey friends, welcome back to the Do Cool Shit podcast. It's been a couple weeks since I've recorded. I went on an actual vacation for the first time in a long time. Josh and I went on a vacation together just for the sole purpose of going on a trip together. And I know for a fact that that was the first time that we've done that in over 6 years. And that was long overdue. And it was something that, if you don't know already, I'm pregnant. I'm 5.5, 23 weeks, so a little over 5.5 months pregnant. And so we were like, yeah, we got to do this shit before I one, get too pregnant to be able to move and actually do things. And two, when the baby comes along, because our life is going to look very, very different and not be conducive to going on a relaxing trip for a little while. So I went away. I sound a little bit stuffy because, of course, I came back and was hit with something, allergies or cold or both, and just haven't been feeling great for a couple days and having to pivot. And so all in all, between preparing for the trip and coming back and not feeling well, it's been a couple weeks since I've done an episode, and I really wanted to do an episode, and my mind was like, where the fuck do I go with this episode? And I honestly couldn't decide. So I said, hey, let me just kind of press record. I have a general direction, and we're going to get a little bit more personal into my life on this one. And we'll see where and how it goes. So like I said, I went on a vacation and it was lovely. We went to San Francisco for a week. We did a shitload of stuff. It was a very active vacation, let's just say. We went and did all kinds of different San Francisco sites and walked a ton. I think we walked like almost 50 miles in the week that we were away. We went to Muir Woods National Park and did a little hike. We went to Sausalito. We went and drove down to Big Sur and Carmel, and we ate all kinds of delicious foods every single day. I think I ate more pastries in a week than I had all year long up into this point. And all of it was really, really great. And one of the reasons why I share this is because I reflected on this trip where intentions in this trip was, quite a bit different. Did I come home and I gained weight? Yes, I did. But I'm also pregnant. And this was also a trip that it wasn't approached in a fuck it mentality of let me eat all the food because I'm pregnant. It was a let me really, really enjoy myself and be present while also operating with anchor points that supported me in how I felt. And yeah, sometimes shit just happens and my immune system is being stolen by the baby growing inside of me. And I got a little bit sick afterwards. What are you going to do? But I approached the trip in a very different intentionality, if that makes sense, than I would have in the past. This trip in the past would have been a more kind of balls to the wall, fuck it mentality, intention, if you will. It would have been a last hurrah. It would have been a thought process of, well, I'm gaining weight anyway, so I might as well just eat all of the things and whatever that would have led to me not feeling well. Where let's get for real in here. Every single day, I was pooping. My gut felt good. My body felt good. Mentally, I felt really, really great. I felt confident. There was no guilt that I was experiencing. I felt no shame. There was no instance of, "Oh, I need to stop this," or "I shouldn't do that." And so much of this is work that I've been putting in for years and years and years. And often, the things that I talk about, the things that I practice in getting to this point. And I think it's easy from this point for people to look at me and what I do and think, "Oh, she's never struggled," or "Oh, she doesn't currently struggle," or anything like that. And that could not be farthest from the truth. But the place that I'm at right now, I've done a lot of reflecting recently where I am, like I said, almost 6 months pregnant. So many changes that have been happening with my body physically, in the way I look, in how I can train, what I do in a day to day, mentally, in so many different aspects. There's dynamics that are changing and relationships that are changing, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and there are scary types of things in the future. And I also feel like I'm in one of the best places that I've ever been, definitely mentally, where I have so much self trust. I am the most regulated, I think, that I've ever been, especially considering all of the different things that are present in my life right now, different stressors and different things that I am thinking about and different things that I'm doing. And again, a lot of the uncertainties and whatnot that can threaten that and cause things like self-sabotage or doubt, go into behaviors, etc. I think I have, even with my body changing, like I've gained basically 20 pounds this year already, and the heaviest weight that I've been in a really long time. Uh, Parts of my body that I would historically be really, really uncomfortable with are the biggest they've ever been. And I also feel like I have the best relationship and appreciation with my body than I've ever had. And again, a lot of trust where when certain thoughts come up, i- uncomfortable thoughts, feelings come up, I'm able to really navigate them and have self trust and confidence in whatever is to come. And I wanted to share a little bit into my past here. So I was recalling some of the things that I've shared, and a couple years ago I shared a post on Instagram, and I kind of want to recall that. It was a deep dive into shit that people might not know about me and my journey. Because again, it's really easy for me to be where I am right now, and could be hard for people to understand what my past was like and where I came from. So I want to pull back the curtain on those things a bit. So I'm going to go through a list of some things that you may not know about me. When I was young, there was this penny candy store in my town, like legit penny candy. You could buy things for a cent, 5 cents, 10 cents, etc. And I would go to the penny candy store. I don't know where I got this money, but a dollar would buy a shitload of candy. And I would buy one of those lunch brown paper bags and fill it with candy and then eat it all within a day in my room in secret. When I was a teenager, I spent the money that I was making on my job on Hydroxycut. And I always thought about calories, how I could burn them when I was playing sports. I would think about, oh, am I sweating? And is my stomach cold and sweaty? That means I'm burning calories. How little can I eat before I have practice? I pretended not to be hungry in public while I was also eating until I was uncomfortable by myself at night. When I went to college, I would go to the gym and I would do cardio every single day. And a lot of times while I was like hungover or even drunk, to be honest. And I wasn't eating quote unquote a lot. I was eating whatever was deemed as healthy at the time, lots of different salads and smoothies and granola and wheat breads and tuna and 100-calorie pack like snacks, those 100-calorie snack packs that they used to have. And I was so confused why I couldn't lose weight or why my body didn't look the way that I wanted it to look. Meanwhile, I was taking shots of Pepto-Bismol because my stomach felt absolutely fucking terrible. I was drinking excessively most days and then allowing myself to eat foods that I deemed bad after nights out because I didn't care at that point and I was drunk and I kind of let loose. And then I'd wake up feeling guilty and ashamed and then do it all over again because this is how this cycle happens. I used to work for a professional basketball team. If you didn't know, for a few years, I did an internship in college and then worked full time for the Philadelphia 76ers. I regularly worked 60 plus hours a week. And I remember there's a lot of things that I remember in this job because it was very high stress and I didn't have a lot of tools and skills. But I remember that one morning on my way to work, I decided to buy bagels for the office. And I bought a dozen bagels and cream cheese for the office. And when I got to work, I had a bagel myself in my cube. And then I had another bagel. And then I had another bagel. And at that point, I was like, oh, well, now I can't put it out for the office because there's 3 gone and that's a weird number. And people are going to wonder why that's such a weird number, narratives and stories that weren't true and I made up in my head. And then I sat in my cubicle that day and ate most of those bagels myself and felt like complete and utter shit in every single way. A few years later, when I started CrossFit, I also started the paleo diet, which was really big at that time. And this led me to learning that gluten was kind of fucking up my gut, along with, in retrospect, a lot of other things like how, how chronically stressed I was. But my gut started to feel better when I cut out gluten. I was less bloated. I felt so much better. And then this really, really worked until it didn't because I was still demonizing food. I was stuck in this paleo cult kind of at the time, CrossFit paleo cult, where it was like, oh, I could have an apple, but only half an apple because that was a portion size. And I could have chocolate cake, but only when it was made with real cocoa and honey and almond flour. I was very stuck in these unsupportive cycles still. And I got really into lifting heavy and started looking for more ways to level up. And I was constantly trying new supplements. I remember getting a newer protein powder at the time. It was called Progenics. I don't even know if they still exist anymore, but from someone who wasn't really big into fitness or supplement world, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna get this protein and it's really gonna level me up." Um, and I started doing 2-a-days. I was trying various different diets. Really, some of them would only last a week, or they would last Monday through Friday, or they would last, a few months or a really long time with these kind of cycles in between. And I was frustrated because I was not getting to where I wanted to be with mostly my relationship with my body, what I wanted my body to look like, how I wanted to feel both in my body and just in myself and my confidence in general. I was idolizing women who were lean and athletic and toned and strong and wondering why I wasn't looking like them. I was training all of the time and dieting all of the time and trying all of the things. And I got to a point where I thought having some guidance would be helpful. So I bought some structured diet and training templates from these well-known athletes and companies at the time, and I won't throw out names, but that did help me push even harder, and I became the leanest I had ever been, but I still wasn't happy, and I still didn't feel successful. I lost my period. I was getting injured often. I was in a pretty bad fucking mood often. I felt highly stressed all the time, although if you asked me at the time if I was stressed, I probably would say no, which is kind of the funny thing, or I would joke about it and be like, "Oh, I'm so stressed," and blah blah, but wouldn't slow down. And even then I couldn't see how I was standing in my own way. I At that point had been coaching and training others for a few years, and I was embarrassed. I thought that hiring my own coach made me look incompetent. Plus, I felt like I already knew, like I knew it all, and I just wasn't working hard enough or doing it well enough. And if I'm being real now, I was also afraid, I think, of what I'd uncover if I brought someone else on to work with me. I don't think I was at the point kind of ready or willing to feel uncomfortable feelings or face certain things. And I honestly didn't like relinquishing control. I didn't want someone else to like tell me what was best for me in a way, or challenge me. And that was a long, long, long period of time where kind of on the outside, with people looking in, I was really highly active and I was eating pretty freaking well. And I'm sure that to some people I looked great. I was getting compliments on my performance and on weight loss or how my body looked, but I never felt good. And I remember being at that leanest point and being really, really unhappy, like thinking initially entering into that specific diet phase, the cutting phase, like this is going to be it. I'm going to push and I'm going to be strict. And I did it. I don't think I cheated at all in that phase because I was going on a vacation to Mexico. And I got to the point before Mexico and I was so unhappy and I wanted more. And my husband had asked me something. He mentioned something about like, well, what is it going to take for you to be happy. You're the leanest that you're at right now. Like, what is it even going to take? And that I don't remember the words exactly, but that moment really stands out in my mind as something kind of pivotal, although it did still take me quite a few years for that to really, really sink in, and for things to change. But that moment sticks out to me so much still to this day. And I got sick of my own shit, essentially. Like what happened was I had a big change of life events. I moved from New Mexico to Hungary, so I moved overseas. It was a huge shakeup of my life, and there were some things that I would say, like, you could potentially even categorize under self-sabotage, but in the big picture, they were very helpful to me, where I went to Hungary and I was eating a whole bunch of different foods in kind of coping and even, faking myself out in thinking like, well, you can't read what the label says, so it doesn't matter, knowing at the same time, like, I'm eating chocolate, or I'm eating like a fried food or something like that. But what this kind of started for me was it actually helped me get more calories in. It helped bring me out of a cycle of chronically dieting and chronically being in this deficit when it came to training and nutrition. And then stress-wise, I was put into a position where I was kind of forced to slow down in many ways. And I was put into positions where I had to face myself and face these scary things and learn more about myself. I was taken away from most of my job. I had transitioned to online in a very small capacity at that point, but up until that point, my job was pretty much completely in person, and I couldn't take that with me. And so I was essentially not really working and in a foreign country, and was again forced to slow down and really, like, have these feelings that I was dealing with in various ways, but eventually learned how to sit with them and acknowledge them. I joined a women's group therapy type of thing because there were a lot of other spouses at that base that were kind of navigating this loss of identity at the same time. So very grateful that one of my friends, who was a fellow spouse in Hungary, was a therapist and led this and really, really helped me in looking in so many different ways. And so that kind of spiraled in a good way into recognizing that nothing I was doing was making me feel better and really working on myself in various ways. Eventually, I took a chance by hiring my own coach to work with, specifically on nutrition. And with that, change, like with all of those things, change really, really started to happen. And when I started working with my own nutrition coach, I was learning how to eat with macronutrients and micronutrients in mind. I was looking at food differently and without this diet mentality. I became aware of and was working to shift my mindset and eating behaviors. I had this true accountability and someone to give me personal guidance and perspective where they weren't judging me, which I think I initially thought that was going to be part of this. I didn't want to feel judged, and that was not what I was met with. I was met with compassion and empathy and understanding, and just really a coach who helped me navigate my own thoughts and behaviors, which was a game changer, obviously, for me and in how I coach, and gaining the skills that I was lacking, but I didn't know that I was lacking. Like, all of these things were just huge, massive game changers for me. And I started to feel better than I had honestly ever imagined that I would feel on all levels in every single area of my life. And my body began to really change and has continued to change in ways that I'm like, holy shit, like even into pregnancy, which is all kinds of different changes. But before pregnancy, I've talked about this before, but not on the podcast, where I was eating like the most amount of calories that I ever had eaten, and maintaining a level of leanness. I did a diet phase before. Oh, when did I ended my diet phase in like late summer. I was like early fallish that I ended my diet phase. It was about a 16-week lower and slower diet phase, and I ended it eating more calories, like in the lowest amount. I ended eating more calories than I used to be able to eat even in um maintenance. So I was really able to change my body, but again, feel really great, optimize my body composition, my hormone health, and of course, how just showed up in the world every single day. And to this day, and as I'm talking about where my life is at now, all of this stuff carries over. Nutrition is more complicated than it seems because of the psychological aspects involved, and those greatly relate to the physiological and the uh even biological, and all of the things that are kind of under the surface. These are the missing pieces for most people. They certainly were for me for a really, really long time. And this is a big part of why I work with people in the capacity that I do now. It's why I emphasize things like regulation and looking at emotions and nervous system and what our thoughts and feelings are and how those relate to behaviors. It's why I approach nutrition, with a look into the nutrition science pieces such as macronutrients and micronutrients, but it's more than that. It's why I have dove into the functional health side of things, so I can really look at roots and how things are connected and how to support people without a band-aid effect or a temporary fix, so to speak. It's why I've taken deep dives into women's health and focusing on, honestly, selfishly, I took the pregnancy postpartum athleticism certification to help with myself, but I knew that this was going to be something that would help the people that I work with, and it's expanded that much more as I look at how people's bodies operate as a whole. Pelvic floor health, for example, is related to nervous system, is related to how we operate in the world, is related to what our thoughts and feelings are, is everything is related. So I don't know how I'm going to end this at this point, and I feel like I've been rambling, and I hope that this all kind of came together, but I wanted to do a little bit of a deeper dive and just share a little bit more about me where I'm coming from and why I do what I do, why I put out into the world what I put out into the world, and ki kind of share that I get it. And my intentions as I move forward are to be supportive. I'm here to help people. I've been through shit myself. I go through shit myself each and every day, and I do aim to share it. I'm kind of in the muck. I'm in the muck with you because I'm a real live human being, and that's a big part of why I even started this podcast because I wanted to talk about the things that don't often get talked about on a deeper level and kind of normalize them a little bit more. Because if I'm not talking about it, then I'm not part of the solution and I'm not helping people. So that's where I think I'll end. But this episode, again, I hope that you got something out of it. Even if it's just questions, I would love to answer them. There was something you learned, although there weren't really lessons necessarily in here, then I'd love to hear that as well. And if there's something that sparked you thinking about maybe getting support and wanting change or shift for yourself in your life, and there was something I talked about that made you believe that I could be someone to support you in that, or even guide you to someone who I think would be a better supporter for you, then I would be happy to do that as well. And grateful and honored to hear from you if that is the case as well. So, my friends, I hope that you join me in doing cool shit because that is why I'm here and that is why I do what I do. And again, that is why I share what I share because I truly believe that me doing cool shit in my life is living in integrity and with curiosity and being truly authentic, strong inside and out, and supporting others and doing the same. So, until next time.